Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the January 21st, 2014 Village of New Paltz Planning Board meeting. It's 7:05. I'd like to call the meeting to order. My name is Maurice Whiteman. I'm the chair of the Village Planning Board. Our members here this evening are John Litton, Liz Harshaw, Michael Zerler, and Rich Steffens. Our attorney is George Rodenhausen. Our secretary is Brogan O'Donnell. We have one item on the agenda and some housekeeping things, including approval of minutes and one other discussion that's not on the agenda. And this is a public hearing for our item number PB 1307, which is a site plan modification to existing building at 46 Church Street. This is John Johnson, and I see him and Karen, and you're here. Could you come up and join us, please? Before we open the public hearing, perhaps you can give us and the public an overview of what it is we're doing, how we got here, and so on.
Okay. Do we usually do the Pledge of Allegiance?
No, we don't.
Oh, we don't. I thought we did that last. What I'm looking to do is convert two existing 8-bedroom apartments into 4 3-bedroom apartments. That's pretty much the gist of it.
That's the bottom line. Okay. Okay, and is there anything else anybody would like to mention or ask before we open public hearing? May I have a motion to open public hearing, please?
I move we open public hearing.
Thank you, Rich. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is there anybody in the public who would like to speak to this application, please? Yes, ma'am.
I live directly in front.
May I ask for your name,
Yes,
please?
sure. My name is Anya Reyes, and I live at 40 Church Street.
Thank you, Anya.
And I've been a resident of New Paltz, and I own my own house for about 7 or 8 years. And I would just like to just voice some of the concerns I have about the
Yes.
property as it is right now. I have about 6 police reports because of the noise level in their house, and they're not just for me. I have a small child, a 5-year-old daughter, and right now the noise travels an incredible amount. I can hear conversations in the house. In the summer, even though it was hot out, I would have to close my windows because the tenants there use very colorful language, and I have a 5-year-old that I need to protect. One of the reports I have here, somebody that asked them politely to please keep the noise level, their response was, "Go F yourself." So this crowd of people that live there aren't exactly mindful of their neighbors. So what we would like to request is some sort of noise barrier if he is going to continue with this. I imagine that with the conversion, if it is allowed, that perhaps that might have less tenants, but I really feel strongly that some sort of noise barrier to protect my family and our ability to enjoy our home, our property. We would really like to request that and possibly even a fence.
Okay.
There's also been garbage that's been thrown on our property from behind us, so hopefully some sort of barrier would help with that as well.
And you said you live at number 40?
Yes, and we're directly right in front, right, I don't know how to describe it, right, we're before that house.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did you say 34 Church Street?
40.
40 Church Street, okay.
So we could hear like video games, parties, karaoke's, when they come home from the bars, we hear conversations in their living room. So it's even their air conditioning, it's like only 30 feet away from our house.
Okay.
So it's,
Where your house is?
I can sure.
Where you live?
we're
You are
very,
right there.
yeah,
You are-
we're just requesting this area here, and we can't really plant much because it's on an incline, and where their house begins is like where our roof starts, because they are up on a hill.
Oh, this is the house.
The land slope right on top.
What's your last name?
I didn't catch it.
Anya, what was your last name again? I'm sorry.
Reyes, R-E-Y-E-S. I'm one of the owners of 40 Church Street.
Okay, so you said noise and garbage and noise. Is that it for you, Ann?
Privately
For
fenced?
now.
Okay. Yes.
My name is Catherine Solberger, and I live at either 42 or 44 Church Street, depending on... That's an issue. We've been told it's now been changed to 42, but we're a little upset about that. Anyway, I would like to first of all say I support the proposal to convert from 2 8-bedroom apartments down to the 3 4-bedroom
Yes.
apartments. I think reducing the number of rooms, I like that idea. And I also want to say that Johnny has been very cooperative with us. We have been talking, and I'm simply doing this because these are properties and not personalities. You know, if it were personalities, we'd be in great shape, but I do
Right.
want to get on the record, because this does impact our property. For us, the biggest problem right now is the lighting. And I've talked with John about this. The lights are coming into our bedroom like 2 headlamps. Our backyard, about a third of it is illuminated all summer.
These are lights in the parking lot or on the house?
They're actually on the house. They illuminate the parking lot. And they may be able to be angled differently, but the way they are right now, they are shining into our house.
Got
They
it.
illuminate about a third of the backyard. This summer, we couldn't see fireflies. Our entire back porch is illuminated. And when the lights are out downstairs, the light casts into the house about 4 or 5 feet.
Okay.
So, that's our biggest problem. Sometimes they park their cars, there's some way they park, I think, when they're running in to do something. It's at the top of the hill, and again, the headlamps are just, going right into our house. I think a fence or something could eliminate that problem. Generally, our privacy sort of suffered. We had a nice backyard, and we've got now essentially a street the entire length of our backyard. And so Johnny put up 7 really nice evergreens. More of those are going to help. But we really have lost a lot of privacy. We sit out there and dozens of people walk by if we're sitting out in the backyard. And it's just not comfortable for us.
Yeah.
I can second what Anya's saying about the noise. There's something about that hill. It's like a Roman amphitheater. I have gone up and asked the students to be quiet, and when I get up there, I shouldn't say the students, tenants, when I get up there, it's no louder where they are than it is down at my house. I don't know why that is. The tenants have not been necessarily inconsiderate. There's no reason why they should think that the noise would travel the way it does.
Yeah.
But it really does. And then if they're skateboarding, it is deafening in our house. And I have asked tenants not to skateboard, and I think maybe you told them not to after that incident. But for long term with that property, those are concerns that I have. We have had a little bit of an incident with litter, but after I filed the police report, we actually had bottles thrown in the yard, and somebody threw a bottle against our house and broke it. The bottle, that is. And so we filed a police report about that. That's been taken care of. I think that these are minor issues that can be addressed by landscaping, but really we want,
Right.
if possible, something to happen. And the biggest thing that upsets us right now is our address got changed, and we want our address back. This really isn't on Church Street. The house is going to face Church Street, and I've talked to Johnny about this. If there's a way that could be given another address, so it would be like Crans Hill road, and each of those houses could be individually numbered. It's going to be very expensive for us to have to change the address. It's in our wills and trusts. It's, we've got
Right.
driver's licenses, passports, all sorts of
I
companies.
think addresses are beyond our purview, but
Oh,
are
okay.
you, yeah, we get that. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. I should, yes, sir, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm the other Silberger, lives at,
Yes.
what I insist is 44 Church Street. There's absolutely no reason, no sensible reason for any change to have been made in the numbering. And we have proposed in letters sundry solutions to the quote problem unquote of new houses occurring. For example, 46th Street, Church Street stays 46th Church Street. 44 Church Street stays 44 Church. Everything stays, but the houses back could be 44A Annex. Or in honor of the very nice family that lived for a century in that house, it could be called Krantz Hill Road and numbered that way.
As I've said, we really can't do anything about
But it can be
addresses.
mentioned at an appropriate time by people here who remember those remarks.
Okay.
Next. I also have a concern about cars coming out of that driveway a little faster than perhaps they should. I foresee a bicyclist coming by at the same time as the foot of the street. I think the skateboarder and the fast exit problem can be solved simultaneously by appropriately constructed and placed street bumps. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments about this application? Hearing none, may I have a motion to close the public hearing? Is it, excuse me for 1 second, point of information, is it appropriate now to close the public hearing, or should we keep it open for seeker?
As far as seeker goes, you should do seeker before you close the public hearing.
Okay.
And the hearing while you're doing seeker. But you've also discussed among the board members if there's any comments to be part of the
Yes.
public hearing.
Yes. I should mention, and perhaps this isn't appropriate to do now, but I just, by way of explanation, some of the issues that have been raised, including landscaping and lighting and so on, we were right with a moment, might have been addressed by the planning board had this come before the planning board initially when it was built. But it was not, it went right to the building department. John mentioned that he didn't have time to go through this process, and the building department gave him the green light to do it. There was apparently nothing in our code that prohibited him from going ahead and building the units as they are constructed now. So we didn't have a chance to review this then, but we do now. We have a chance to do it through our secret review and so on. Yes, Anya?
I just have a question.
Yes.
I'm just wondering if the modifications would allow for multiple people to be in there per room? Is there anything that's gonna change about the modifications? Like, I mean, I don't know what the regulations are or anything, so I'm kind of wondering if it's changed to less bedrooms if 2 people are allowed to be in each bedroom.
That, I think, is a problem in our code, and perhaps it's not a problem, but the way things are written, George might have a better understanding of it.
Well, it does, our code just addresses the number of bedrooms in a unit, so 2 bedrooms and so on. How many people are in there is not regulated, because family is not regulated.
It's my understanding that it is, George.
Oh, it is here?
Yeah, there's a certain number of square feet per bedroom and per person per bedroom.
Oh, in square footage.
Yeah.
Okay, so we
I
can.
go more than 5 people per bed.
But there's no change against what is in the amount of the building.
Yeah, I was just curious. I wasn't sure if with 8 bedrooms, if that, 8 versus 12 or whatever it was, but if that would change or not, I wasn't sure. Is that what it?
Your book?
Yeah. Oh, okay,
Six-
sorry.
6
16.
So what is it per, what is the density on that?
I looked it up this morning. For one occupant, you need 80 to under 120 square feet. So anything under 120 square feet to a minimum of 80 is one person. 120 square feet up to 180 is two people. And then anything over 180 is three people. Per bedroom.
So how big are your?
There's one bedroom that is larger than 120 square feet. The other two will be less than 120. But I have no intentions of putting more than one person in the bedroom. I currently don't have more than one in the bedroom.
Now, this isn't something, as things stand now, that we can hold the applicant to, or future owners.
You can put a note on the plan,
In
on the
the-
site plan.
For respective approval.
Right.
If I may say
Yeah.
something, I have no intentions of putting more than 3 people in each of those apartments.
Yeah.
But putting a note on the plan, if you have a 3-bedroom house and you have 2 parents living in the master bedroom and 2 children, that causes a problem.
Yes, it does.
But I understand, and I agree with Anya,
Right.
that it's a concern, but it's also a issue.
We've fashed this around the village quite a bit with the definitions of family.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, what's the latest of the state law? George?
It's not, we don't define it,
Yeah.
basically. But what I was suggesting was that we make a note of the regulation, the requirement that it not be more than 1 in 2 rooms, not be more than 2 in other rooms.
Yeah.
I wasn't suggesting lowering it, but
Right.
just to have a record that goes along with the site plan. And actually, we don't have a site plan prepared especially for this, I understand. This is the old building plan, right?
Well, that is the site plan that I'm submitting. It's the as-built. The fact that I don't have, I'm not proposing to do anything outside, I felt that would suffice.
Well, if it needs notes, it has to be put on somehow. Oh, yeah, we can come back
Sure.
later, depending on what the board does. It can be in the resolution, too.
Yeah.
So, see how much it is to add.
Yeah. As,
Yes.
if I may,
Yes.
as for that section of fence between our 2 properties, I'd be more than happy to do that, as well as add additional plantings. I'm sorry, Don. I'd be happy to put the fence in between us and them, and I would be more than happy to increase the buffer, the tree buffer, between the Zilberger's house and our driveway. And I would also be amenable to spending a night, on a warmer night, with the Zilbergers and aim the lights to their satisfaction.
Right, there are requirements for lighting that we didn't get to tell you about when,
Sure.
when you came the first time, that
Yeah.
we can do this time. But, yeah, so,
And I'm amenable to that as well.
yeah, good. Okay, any comments or
Well,
questions?
someone brought up the idea of speed bumps.
Yeah.
The problem with the speed bumps, especially here, is if residences very close to either side of that driveway, the speed bumps will cause a lot of vibration, which will have some effect on those foundations. So if we're going to require speed bumps, we really
I think
have to
we
look
would-
at
Yeah,
I'm sorry, you said that it'll have effect on on the foundations of the house?
Well, it just causes that much more. of
Over
a-
how many years? 1, 2, 50?
I'm not an engineer.
Depends how many cars, depends how high the speed bump.
Yeah.
I think that's a side issue. I don't think that's really
Yeah,
pertinent.
It
High
may be,
speed bump?
Yeah, I mean, the effect on the foundation.
okay.
The alternative on that, I think there, you know, I've watched them going down, and you can get a fair head of steam going down there. Something that would make them stop for the sidewalk real convincingly would be a good idea. I mean, I just live in terror sometimes as I see some kid shooting down the street on a skateboard and somebody down the driveway.
There are kids, and there's a sidewalk, and some people who walk more slowly than others might be there, might not hear as well, so it's a problem, yeah.
But I mean, the problem is if somebody's going fast along the street,
Yeah.
they're not gonna, you know, but a stop sign maybe? But I do think you want to think about that traffic issue.
Does the house in front have, this is all your property up front, right?
Yes.
Does that house have apartments in it?
It's a single-family home.
Single family, okay.
George, you weren't here for the last meeting. We spoke with the applicant about his plans for property. John, maybe you can explain them again for the people here and for George, who was not here.
My current desire is to get this application complete.
Right, and that's why we're here tonight.
And that's pretty much it. I've had thoughts, and I've discussed them with Katie, of removing this house, adding these two lots together, adding the density up here and up here, and making this road come straight out to Church Street, thereby giving me ample room on the side for plantings straight out to the road, and also calling this Krantz Hill Road at the same time.
And this is how wide again? This is,
That's 25 foot wide.
which is a good size for commercial use. And as of now, this driveway is at its narrowest point is pretty narrow. Right?
Well, this is not my
I'm
driveway.
sorry.
Right here.
Right,
Yes,
so
yes,
here
it comes down to 16 foot.
Or even less where the chimney is, but okay.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
On the back end of the house, the dimension is 14.6
Yes, yeah. I was looking up at the front.
as the width of the driveway.
All right. Okay. Nothing. Liz?
I like the idea of reducing the number of people down by changing the interior of the apartment building, but all the rest of it doesn't follow the existing rules. I think the most important one, in my mind, for safety reasons, is that the driveway just ain't wide enough. It's supposed to be 25 feet. And for my, as per the note we had gotten from George, all the rules that for setbacks differ greatly between the duplex and multifamily. And I'm not fond of the precedent that would be setting. I think that is not a good precedent to set. So I have my hesitations on those two biggies. To me, those are the biggies. There might be more, but I don't see them at the moment.
Okay. Mr. Litton?
I appreciate you having the flexibility to regain the wides, build the fence and plant the trees. The driveway issue, that's a concern, the speed issue is a concern. I'd like to see how you could address those.
Okay, so I think we have the members' comments and questions, and any other questions for the applicant about these? Okay. So shall we do secret now? Should we suspend the public hearing until?
Yeah, we could do that. I just wondered on this driveway, of course, it's all existing, so not much you can do about what it is. Whether the fire department would have any recommendation in terms of access, or whether it was looked at by the fire department when the building department gave us.
It was.
There was.
Yes.
Do you remember what they said about it?
They said he would have no problem bringing emergency vehicles up the driveway. That was something that, that Kathy Monis, the, had asked and met the fire chief out at the location, and we did not feel it would be a problem.
Do you know if there's a letter on file?
There is not. I actually went in today looking for that letter.
Yeah, I couldn't find it when I.
Yeah.
But from the secret point of view, the environmental review aspect of it, all that's happening is the reduction in the number of people living there, the reduction in the number of bedrooms. So whatever impact there is now is going to be lessened.
Right.
So, I mean, it's sort of a different question. If this was being looked at from the start, whether to build these or not, I guess that issue, the driveway would be very important. Can we get fire vehicles back in there quickly and efficiently?
It probably isn't something we would have approved back then, unless there was good testimony from the fire chief that it's okay. So what options do we have, George, now to fix some of the problems that we know of that may not be a problem with code, but for example, the lighting and the noise and the barriers and so on?
The problems that have been brought out here are certainly in the authority of this board now, the site plan review, considering the entire lot,
Yes.
which is appropriate.
Right.
To do things that can be done now, short of moving the buildings, which can't be done.
One of the problems that was brought up was garbage. What are the provisions for garbage on these buildings?
I have a dumpster.
One dumpster?
Yes.
Where's that located?
It's located up at the top of the driveway. It's located right here.
In the paved parking area?
Yes. And I, as far as the garbage that has wound up on their property, I have no idea whose garbage it is, and I'm certainly not saying it's not mine.
It was like a pizza box, some bottles, you know.
But, you know, there's an apartment complex here, right here, and I would suspect that the garbage came from this house before it came around the back of this house. But that's neither here nor there. There shouldn't be garbage on anyone's property, including mine.
Wondering where the garbage cans were. They're all the way over there.
Yeah.
Are they in an enclosure or are they just an open dumpster?
It's an open dumpster.
How do you handle recycling with the open dumpster?
The kids bring the recycling to the dump.
Who do you use for your purpose?
I use, what do I use? I get county waste and the other one mixed up every time Waste Management. I think.
Because I know Waste Management offers recycling containers
Yeah,
that you can put them in.
yeah.
Well, I think it's the village code, isn't it? The village required it by their franchisee?
Yeah, I don't know what it's like for, is this considered a commercial? I don't know how it works, whether the code,
I assume it is. Multifamily would be commercial
yeah.
in most cases. Do you have any bicycle racks?
I have a shed here with a bicycle, where they keep their bicycles in cover.
Is there a rack in this building?
And makeshift rack.
If we have, there is part of the code that says that we have to have that.
Sure.
And is this something that we can now
Yeah.
impose? Okay.
It's a new site plan.
Right, so things we can't touch are setback,
Yeah, I can't move the buildings.
right, and we can't impose driveway restrictions.
Well, we can't make it wider, right, but the speed bump issue, I think, is legitimate now. Whether that's right or not, I don't know.
Well, traffic calming,
Yeah.
Traffic calming, right.
In terms of the speed bump, if you put them before where the foundations are, because I am a little sensitive about
foundations, yes, you've had issues.
But if you put it just before the two houses come together, that might, because they really do pick up some speed
Yeah.
coming down that hill, and that
Yeah.
might stop it. It also might look to skateboarders like Nirvana.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
That's-
well, that's,
Enjoyable.
you know,
Speed bumps they're not a vibration problem when people take them slowly.
Yeah.
They're only a vibration problem when people are doing what we don't want them to do. And then they exacerbate the problem, so I'm my point.
Another, if you don't mind, a briefly stated irrelevant thought. You're planning eventually to pull down 46th Street, aren't you? Maybe.
if we get through this,
Okay, if you can get through that. Okay, if that's pulled down, that road becomes much wider. Part of that road could be used for parking, and two sides, alternate side of the street parking could be instituted in Church Street, which is where it's certainly needed now. It's just a thought for the future, sorry.
I have plenty of parking up at the top for, yeah.
And you can even make some money off of that parking.
There's someone else that has a question, Mom.
Sorry. Ms. Rocco.
Thank you. Two questions. One question is, was there a variance given for the driveway since it isn't code conforming? And my other question is a more generic question. It's my understanding that when properties that, for whatever reason, aren't currently code conforming, come for changes to them, that then frees the planning board of some responsibility to adhere to what had previously been done. I'm curious to know how these apartments have 8 bedrooms, for example. So I'm really wondering whether it's in the village's best interests to try to accommodate any applicant, not you, not anyone in particular, but any applicant, when the property in question is so clearly not a conforming property. And I don't understand, well, let me say, there's no variance for the driveway, for example.
But it didn't need to be one because it was a residential, not multifamily. The buildings that were built on directly with building permits without needing to go to the planning board because they were considered either
Residential.
one-family, two-family dwellings.
And
the
is it-
reason that they had that many bedrooms is because the lot size permitted that number of bedrooms, since the number of bedrooms allowed for 1 or 2 families based on the square footage of the lot.
So that was not my understanding. My understanding is that the code stipulates a maximum number of bedrooms as long as the area allows that number of bedrooms. So I could be misunderstanding this, but somehow the number 5 sticks in my head. Be that as it may, as I said, I'm really asking a generic question. I'm asking whether the village, the planning board, the ZBA, the village board, whatever, want to take a step back and say, we do have some remedies available to us to redress what were either sloppy decisions or not good decisions that are harming the community. And I'm, as a citizen, I'm saying that I would like to see that thought at least be explored. So if taking down the building, for example, which is a possibility anyway, depending on what's given now, remediates the driveway, why isn't that, is that something to be considered as part of giving permission to do the conversion the applicant is requesting?
As I understand it, the application is to result in fewer bedrooms.
Right.
And it's not a challenge to the density or anything. The fact that he was allowed to build what he built based on the law as it was then and based on the approval of the building department, I think means that he's got it. He's got the driveway there. We can't do anything about that now. And we can't require him to take down the building now. I think that's the case. Is that right, George?
It's not, as Michael said, it's not non-compliant. As it stands today, it's in compliance with the zoning law.
The driveway, the width of the driveway.
But
To convert it.
to convert it to multifamily, then the driveway is non-compliant,
Correct.
would be non-compliant.
Correct. So you're balancing the reduction in the number of residents there with the fact that by reducing it, you become subject to a law which requires a broader driveway. So there's a balancing question of which is better for the community.
Is it possible to stipulate that the third bedroom that's more than a one-person bedroom be reduced in size so that we're not relying on the current owner who is saying he doesn't plan to do it differently, but if he sells the property, then the person to whom he sells it hasn't made that commitment. So if there's a way, for instance, to reduce the size of the square footage of the bedroom, then that would.
I think there are other problems with that, which is that if ever it comes to the point where the market doesn't look for student housing, student-oriented housing, and looks for like an actual two-family house, a couple would not want to live in an 80-square-foot bedroom. And so I think for John's future use, it makes sense to keep it the way it is. I would want that, and I would want it for the village, actually, to make it something that could be retrograded to be an actual family residence, a single-family residence, or something like that. But I don't know if we have any. I don't think we can say anything about that anyhow. No.
And also, no one's actually complained about the number of tenants. They complain about the behavior
Right.
and some of the physical conditions that can be addressed.
Yeah, I think, clearly lighting and noise barriers and so on, and continued vigilance by neighbors with the police to get them to remediate noise problems. You shouldn't be suffering with that. You shouldn't be. I live next to some student housing, and I know what it can be like. And
He's got to stop raising tigers up there, too.
I'll put that in the resolution. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that in terms of the noise, as I said at the outset, I do support this, and
Yes.
I realize we are going from a two-family to a multi-residence,
Yeah.
but, reducing the number of residents is overall appealing to
Right.
me. I want it on record, not so much not because of Johnny, because he's been very cooperative, but I do want it on record that these have been problems because properties do change hands.
Well, this is why
And-
we don't evaluate the owner. We evaluate the property.
Yeah, exactly. So evaluating the property. The other thing that occurs to me is, aren't your living rooms in the back of the house?
Yes.
How hard would it be for you to flip that so that, because I think that's where more noise occurs?
Extremely difficult.
Oh, okay, I don't know, yeah, okay.
Because the kitchen is in the front and the living room's in the back.
Gotcha, okay. Yeah.
Do they have central air conditioning in their house?
They
They
do.
do, okay. Yeah, because that was an issue, like I said, in the summer, the noise just traveled so much that we had to close our windows because their windows were open. But I just wondered why they weren't using the central air conditioning.
Maybe they don't want to pay the electricity. Okay,
Yeah.
so, should we go through the secret stuff? Now, George, you have to forgive me here, but I'm certainly not familiar with a project like this, and I'm not familiar with our new secret forms. And on the application, it clearly says that he did not get a variance for this property. So this is just an as-right, is that what it's called? As of right, yeah, so. Okay, so here we have the short EAF. And the part that we do is the impact assessment. Okay, so I will go through these questions one by one. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation? And I see no. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity use of the land? Reduction, I would suppose, but, so would the answer be no there, or should we guess the lower?
No, or I'd say no, or small impact, same box.
Okay. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? I would say no. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? So no. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? I'd say no. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation? I'd say no. Will the proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies or public or private wastewater treatment utilities? No to both of those. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, aesthetic resources? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality? No. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No. Will they create a hazard to environmental resource or human health? No. So, that's it. Now, how do we, or where do we, or when do we talk about things that...
Well, first you have to finish this by
Okay. Okay.
a resolution for a negative declaration.
Okay, so we have determined, or by virtue of the lack of impact, it appears that there is no significance, so we have a negative, we have a motion for declaring a negative declaration of impact.
I'm moving, we give this a neg deck.
Okay, second, Mr. Zerler, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we have determined that, based on the information analysis above, the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. Excuse me while I write, I cannot talk and write at the same time. Brogan, this is going to be part of the file. Okay.
If you want to have conditions on the approval, we can put them in the resolution,
Yeah.
which we have for the next meeting. And normally it's good practice to have a plan, like this plan.
Yeah, I would really like it.
Well, I understand you don't want to do another plan. I guess the question I have, can't you go back to this person, reprint the plan with list of conditions in, or maybe just keep showing the fence is going to be put in, or
I could.
if you want to do speed?
Let's talk about the items first, and then we'll figure out what makes the most sense and how to require it. Now, I think if this were a new application, we could ask for, what's the lighting plan called, photometry, et cetera. You know, this isn't like a commercial parking lot, but still, I'm looking to avoid the kind of problems that Ms. Silberger mentioned. And I appreciate your coming there and aiming it, and I don't know if that would be good enough. What do you folks think? I'm concerned about both that we normally would require full cutoff lighting and not too bright is one way to put it, and without
Well, I mean, why are there lights coming off the back of this building?
the light up the parking area.
There's a light fixture here. May I, right?
Yes.
There's a light fixture here,
Yeah.
facing this way. There's a light fixture here, facing this way.
Should we put that as an arrow? I think that.
There's one here, and there's one here.
But what's the one that is giving the problem to here?
I suspect it's this one.
Katie, can you come up there?
down to
Yeah,
here.
I can tell you.
Yeah.
Part of the problem is the difference in elevation between the properties. And
And which is the lights that you're having problems with being?
they
I thought there was a light on this corner, something was shining at the ground.
these are the, where are the two
This is
houses
yours.
side by- Well, this is me. Okay, it is this house here. And
Wow.
these lights, they're up on their roof, and they're just, it's like a car is shining its headlamps.
So does it have to be that high, John?
Well, let me ask you this. What if I eliminate this light completely?
That'll work.
Because this one goes this direction.
This one isn't bothering us, but I mean, this,
Well, I had turned this one.
yeah, I complained at first, yeah.
I had it coming down here for,
Yeah.
yeah.
If these are eliminated, because it,
How about a reflective shield that puts the lights down on the water?
yeah,
Yeah.
because it gets our backyard about like this.
How about if sometime this week I go up there and I remove it?
Depending on the weather, but yeah.
Yeah, and,
Well, we would like to, Kate, we'd like to have something that we can put,
I gotcha. I would, yeah, if those could be removed, great, or just,
You say those, or is there more than one light here?
there are two on, there's one here and one here, and they're both aimed
what
towards.
I don't believe there's one over here. I think there's only one here and one here. I may not be.
Two lights on the side.
No, it's a LED, single.
I honestly think there's two of them, Johnny.
Okay, you know what? Then shit maybe.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth.
Because the impression is it's headlamps.
Okay.
And, yeah, and I mean, they light this part of the driveway, or this backyard, so we could never see the fireflies.
but
Mine.
Katie, if this is your house, if you're looking here, you could be seeing these two lights.
That's
Thinking that it's in both.
Unless those lights are directed down on the lot nowhere else.
Because that's what, 10, 12 feet higher than the apartments in this.
How high is the light?
The light is right underneath the soffit.
Which is how high then?
Which is
14.
9.
So yeah, so by the time it's pretty significant high house.
17 feet.
17 feet.
That's pretty high, and then how much higher is that than your?
The grade looks like it's about 10 feet difference.
This is a 6-foot hill right here.
Yeah.
Well, if they're really not helping with the safety, I don't think they
Well, it's going from 239 to
But
248.
the building is in between the light and the, so
We
it's
don't
not.
need any more night light.
For you, it's not a problem.
Yeah, no, that would make a big difference. It's
So
just,
that's remediation wall, take it out.
yeah, if I'm in the kitchen doing dishes, they're shining right in my eyes.
You know what I'm saying? Why is it simply a matter of shading?
Tomorrow I will take that light down and then perhaps.
I,
Why don't you just shut it off tomorrow?
I
night,
just
and
have
see what
one-
it looks like.
Don't put your tongue on the pole.
if, not to be a pain in the ass about it, but if we were to require that these lights be taken away, would that then cause a safety issue for the people in those two buildings?
That's what I was asking, what's it illuminating?
Yeah, the parking area.
Could,
We can see. We
John,
can take
you
it
know,
down
what
and we
I
can
was-
see what it looks like at night and,
See, the planning process ought to have some sort of a lighting layout of impact and so on. And it seems to me if you're looking to illuminate the parking area and perhaps the driveway, the lights have to be here aimed away from the other houses. And I don't know about the Turtle Rock people complaining, but perhaps having lower lights or
Shaded?
or so that they don't shine into anything. But I would like to see it remediated before we approve anything, so that we know that it's done.
sure.
Because it can't be put on the plan that if Ms. Silver approves, that's not gonna work. So I would like to see what you've done and then make sure that everybody's happy, and then we can say lighting is, and then have that be on the plan, that this is what the lighting is. And that's what we approved, and then that's that.
I mean, you can control these with an off switch, so you can turn it off an hour from now.
They're on sensors that,
no, light sense, photo sense.
Motion,
So it's
Sister?
not line, you can't shut the line off.
I
Pull the breaker.
I can, but they will shut both of these off. I think they're on the same.
Okay, let's not problem solve to that extent now. And can we talk a little bit about
Wait, can I just say one more thing
yes.
about the light? Just, if there could be a fence right behind the shed, because this is where people sometimes park. And again, they're shining their lights into their house, and they'll leave the car, I think they're leaving the car and running in here. And it doesn't have to be that high, but if it could just be like a 4-foot fence or something.
So they're parking behind the shed?
They park behind the shed, and I don't know
But
what they're doing.
up on the drop, up on
But
the.
because they're up high, it goes right into our house, and they'll leave their headlamps on, and they'll go in the house and do something, and you just got this blinding light coming at us. I mean, it's a funny angle, part of it's the angle,
Yeah.
it's a bad angle.
I just would like to say, even though they don't have a photo isometric plan, it would be good to have the light fixtures marked on the plan, so we know where they are and identify them. If we can,
After Katie and Anya are happy, then you can mark the plan that way. This is what we got. And you know, then come back to us and we'll say, okay. Now we have to talk about some sort of barriers. Now you were talking about plantings and fences for lighting and noise.
And,
Is there currently a fence between your residence and the apartment?
No.
There's a couple of trees, but I mean, I'm a big fan of trees.
Right.
I'm not sure the fence is really gonna do much of, with the noise barrier, I mean,
yeah. Johnny put up, I think there were 7 fir trees that you
Yeah,
put up.
I put them, if I may,
Yeah, sure.
down.
that's what we have to see in the final plan, by the way.
Yes.
I am this thing. From here down to here, I think there was 7 of them. And then I planted a few back over here. because there was a weak spot in this. This here was formerly Spring Street, so that's a whole nother issue. This is a 50-foot, 50-foot, I believe. Yeah, 50 foot. That's a 50-foot.
That's more than 25.
Yeah, this is Spring Street.
Well, this is a 50-foot wide piece of property here, but the driveway is up here to 25.
25.
Right, so this looks like it's 50.
It is 50 foot.
Those are buffers.
But this kind of tree, I mean, when you put those in, immediately we noticed, I don't know if you guys noticed it, but for us, it cut down some of the noise against the asphalt. And I actually think they stopped like closer up to here, but those are good trees.
Yeah, I stopped. I would have preferred bringing them all the way down, but the space, I ran out of space between the driveway and the property line.
So what are you proposing? Additional trees in there? Is that what you're pushing for?
And then are you proposing trees behind the apartment
Yeah.
blocking hers?
I mean, come up here and show us what.
I mean, that would be my preference, I think, because I don't think that the fence might do something, but I don't think it's going to do all that much.
Where do you see?
It makes sense.
So this is your building, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is your house.
So this here, along here, I mean, also in the summer, one of the things that I saw is that the tenants or their friends or whoever was staying there were going around this way and coming up this way and that way. So I don't know if that's still possible, if they can still do that. There isn't any barrier here, so they can come up this way, right?
With cars?
No.
No, by foot too. So they're kind of going around this way too. But that's not the point. The point, I mean, I'm just saying when they were coming home from the bars and stuff. So, you know, so here.
If I may, do you see the trees that are here?
Yes.
If I planted them across the back here,
That would be
I would
great.
much prefer to put the trees against the fence.
Yes.
Fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And is there a way that you can block the corridor so that they don't come walking?
There's a wire fence around the perimeter of my property
Oh, okay.
currently, but that doesn't mean that they're not climbing over it.
Yeah,
It's an old
You
fence.
know, this
Could
is
you electrify it?
that would be an added bonus.
Is there already trees and growth all in here?
There are, but not
Yeah,
an
there's-
adequate buffer.
No, they're not.
If I lived here, I would want.
Well, that's not my point. My point is, would you be better to put those trees beyond that and leave that, and you've got that much more of a buffer?
Yes, I wouldn't.
Take them
I
down.
wouldn't recommend taking them down.
Yeah, they're pretty
I'd put
big,
these in
tall
addition
trees,
to
so
them.
they're.
Oh, okay, so you're gonna be able to leave the ones that are there.
Yes, and I will also bring these evergreens right across here,
That would be great.
across this whole section here.
Oh, yeah, that works.
I've got a question, but it's not on your site plan.
Yeah.
What's the great blue wall over here?
What is that?
Is that some kids batting practice?
No, that has nothing, that's the neighbor over here, put that up to aggravate me, for lack of a better term.
We would call it spike wall.
That's the tallest fence in New Paltz.
Well, I thought there was a max of 5 feet without a variance.
I thought there was some kid practicing his tennis against it, or?
Okay, so may I just try to,
It's on my property, by the way,
Is it?
but out of peace, I
okay.
left it.
So what I'd like to do is ask you, John, to work with your neighbors and mark up the plan, how you've adjusted the lighting, or where the lighting is,
Okay.
to satisfy them, and what kind of plantings you will do to satisfy their noise and headlight
And privacy.
And privacy.
and privacy, yes. And are there any other things we've been
Speed
working on?
bumps or some traffic
Now,
calming.
he can't put a stop sign on his driveway, can
I can't.
I thought
don't think
you can't put an official one, but you can
Not an
put,
official stop.
you can put,
You'll get a ticket if you go through it, but
Right,
can put a sign,
It won't be
yeah.
a traffic signal of the village, but you can put your own sign up.
But what could we do? I mean,
Probably not.
There will be signs that say slow children, maybe, something like that. I don't know if that would matter.
I think pain is the only thing.
He's not allowed to put a stop
So there
sign.
was
I'm interested in
the proposal was to have a bump back here.
it has no legal effect on your stop sign. I can put a stop sign at the end of my driveway.
But I mean, from the perspective of public safety, somehow slowing those cars down before they cross the sidewalk. You
You
know,
know, the problem with speed bumps that I see
Yeah.
is that cars will race up to it and maybe go slow and then accelerate more, and it becomes noisier. And I don't know, I can't speak to the foundation rattling business, but that could happen too.
that worries me.
But I don't know the speed bumps are good answer, but I believe that to you and
Yeah, and you know, I mean, it doesn't affect me. I don't, it's just, I think in terms of being socially responsible, if you can say, look, I see a situation, to me it looks dangerous.
this may be where
Are
our
there-
building inspector should play a role in figuring out how to make this better.
Are there, is it more of a concern of cars speeding out of there, or the skateboarders
No, it's
and
cars.
No, it's-
bicyclists speeding out of there?
What I think it is if you have a bicyclist or a skateboarder coming along Church Street quickly, and someone is coming down this driveway quickly, if they meet, neither the skateboarder nor the car is going to have time to react, and I see both of it. And personally, it doesn't affect me, but
So,
as somebody who lives in New
The
Paltz and
traffic
wants to
coming
see-
down that driveway is automobile, not,
It's automobile.
okay.
The kids who were skateboarding, I mean, I must look like their grandmother at this point. But I went out and I talked to them, and I said, no, I mean, really, it was just deafening in our house. And I said, do you live here? And they kind of got very sheepish, and then I found out they did live there. Because initially I thought they had just thought they found a great place to skateboard. And they never skateboarded after that. But, you know, it's more, I see kids going up and down Church Street all the time on skateboards
Hot
now.
oil.
Okay.
Well, maybe signs wouldn't hurt. Maybe a sign is the only thing you can do.
I mean, just remind them.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't think people are thinking when they're going down really fast.
You know, there was an accident, we had an early dismissal today at the New Paltz schools for some reason. And so it was a little bit hectic.
Yeah.
And high school kids always drive, like, the speed limit in the high school parking lot is 5 miles an hour. I say 35 is more like it. They blow through stop signs, they cut buses off, they do everything. The 3-car accident on South Putt, right opposite the deck building, I think. One car ended up in the ditch, and at least 2 of the cars were high school students. And I bet anything that they were fooling around, driving too fast, and so on. It wasn't slippery yet, it was just cold, and they wanted to get home. So, you know, they're not going to necessarily use caution.
Right, yeah.
Even if they should.
Yeah, I mean, there may be nothing that can be done, but, you know, we just mentioned it because we see it probably more than anyone.
Okay, so, yes.
You need to continue the public hearing because you're going to see
Yes.
a new plan. at the next
Okay,
meeting.
so, do we know what we need, John? We're gonna want the lighting shown, we're gonna want the new planting shown.
Did we want existing trees shown?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, yes.
Shows the shrubbery, so there's some record of what's there now. Or what you end up with.
And what I would appreciate is if you could speak to the building inspector and ask for his opinion about what you can do to get the traffic to slow down coming out of the driveway. Maybe he has some idea besides speed bumps and stop signs. I don't know.
and
Toll booth, perhaps?
And then our new building inspector.
Briefly.
Mark is there Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And Mitch is there Tuesday. Okay, so are there any other things
have a bit of a problem with not having a dumpster enclosure.
You convince me.
I mean, if you just, at least show where the dumpster is, but, there really should be an ability for these kids to recycle there. I think if we check the village law, you are required to have recycling.
And
You can't make them recycle, but
And John, I would like you to speak to the building inspector about bicycle racks. I think you're required to have them
Yeah.
for,
Well, he needs either a rack or a shed, and he's got an enclosure.
well, we don't know about the size of it.
Right,
So
but-
he has to find out what the code is so that you can comply with it and have that on the file. Sorry? Oh,
He needs one bicycle space for each dwelling unit.
I have this planning.
So if you could just show him the plan.
What about having the fire chief?
Location for bicycles.
yeah. Can we at this point ask him to get a letter from fire department, or is the driveway just a dead issue for us?
Well, if we're going to take it here, I think they ask for it. Maybe a suggestion, no parking in driveway. Obviously, just to make sure.
Well, it's obvious to us, believe me, when the people living there, if they're anything like the people that live next to me, they don't get that.
True, yeah, so maybe it'd be nice to know if it's on the parking.
Might be, if we don't have
Well,
to get the light.
I didn't find one in the building file, and John looked at the file.
Yeah, well, it'd be nice to have it out.
Could you speak to the building, to the fire department, and see if they will give you a letter so that we can have something on file?
You should request it so we do get it.
Okay.
We both can do it. but-
Madam Secretary,
Yes.
could you please contact the fire chief and ask him, I'm sorry,
Sorry, okay.
and ask him to contact Mr. Johnson
Yep.
to inspect the driveway for his safe use of it to get to his properties in the back. And we would like a letter from him saying that it's okay.
Or it sounds like he already did that previously, so if we just find his letter.
I didn't find it. It's possible that there is one there, but neither John nor I found it in the building file. So I think...
Maybe the
I
fire
think
department has it on their
Yeah.
files.
Maybe, whatever. However you do it, we need something by the next meeting. to have.
you do that voodoo that you do. Oh, well.
Okay, so I have a motion to continue to, what do we say now? To continue the public hearing until, how do we say, until next meeting, or? Oh, that's
Supposed to be the
So the dates are-
Did we close the public hearing?
the fourth.
No, we did not. Give me a second, please.
No, I'm pointing to the
28th, so the 4th is the next meeting. Yes.
I'm showing.
Thank you. No, I was looking at my calendar.
Oh, okay.
I trust my calendar.
Got it.
Okay, so a motion to continue the public hearing until February 4th.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Rich. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so public hearing will happen again. We don't have to renotice or anything, it's just gonna happen. If for some reason you don't have everything ready until then, we'll just, will we have to meet to continue it again? Yeah. Okay. So we shall do that. So we'll see you in 2 weeks, we hope.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Karen. Good to see you.
Nice to see you. Stay warm out there.
Yeah. Okay, so we have more things. We aren't there yet, Mr. Videographer. We're still going. Oh, that was a nice pencil.
He gets more pens like that.
That was a pencil. I wanted that pencil. No, it's not. It's not the same.
Oh, this is the United States Post Office pencil.
Wow, no kidding. You nicked federal properties, don't you?
Start seeing it all.
Oh, yes, I want to do the minutes first.
Did we officially close the public hearing?
No, we
No.
continued it until the next meeting, February 1st.
Also, we don't need to make a motion to close.
That's right. Well, we made a motion and a second.
I see, okay.
You didn't get that?
I did. I didn't know if it needed to be, okay.
Sorry? Okay. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is I thought they were short enough that it wouldn't matter, and I was conflicted whether or not we should include that paragraph that I added about, Rich, Justice is,
She should be done sometime.
I was conflicted about adding the paragraph that you saw in there about the conversation I had with John about why he didn't come to us, but I decided to keep it in anyhow. So anyhow, may I have a motion to approve the draft minutes of the January 7, 2014 meeting?
Well, it's funny because when I read it, I had a problem with that
Yes,
paragraph.
okay, what is it?
Whenever I look at these things, I think of what somebody else is going to look at in
Yes.
the future.
Yes.
And look back and decide, why is this here?
Yes. I'll tell you why I put it here, or why I asked for it to be included. The minutes as drafted by Brogan contain nothing other than your motion and the second and carried, and that's it. And it referenced the start time and stop time of the meeting on the DVD. And I have a problem with that. I want there to be a more visible public record that the public does not have to go to the DVD to find out what was said and what was there. And this is something that I thought was important to be shown, that this is why this happened. It isn't as though this came to us before, or it did. I just wanted some footprints to show why we got to this point. And what is your problem with it? What are you concerned about?
Knowing all the background we know, that makes sense to me when I read this, but if I didn't know that background, then I read this. And I just took it for the words that are here, it doesn't tell me anything. It says that you asked an applicant about not coming to the planning board in the past.
Okay.
Because, what does that mean?
Well, in the past, so you're right. So
And if we make a statement saying that this application has never been, this is a new application, or this site plan is the first time before the board.
It should reflect what was said, though. We don't want to just create minutes. But you did ask him why he had to come when he
Yes.
built the buildings? Is that
Yes.
better than in the past?
Yes.
Why did he come when he built these buildings?
Yeah, that was part of the conversation.
Yeah.
But not coming to the planning board when the buildings were built.
Right.
Would that be okay with you? If I strike in the past?
It's just I found it a little confusing when I read the paragraph.
I agree. Anybody else have comments about this draft version of the minutes?
No, I wasn't able to read them because of the time, so.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I'm looking at them now. Thanks.
So do we make the adjustment to the record and then?
Yeah, not yet. I just want to wait until Michael reads them. He didn't get to see them yet. Do you have any comments about them, John?
No.
Liz?
No.
Okay. Sure. I wasn't asking you.
Thank you. That's fine.
Okay, so this now says, Chairman Whiteman asked the applicant John Johnson about not coming before the planning board when the buildings were built. Originally, John Johnson built 3 duplexes with plans in mind to install additional duplexes in the future. At the time of this original plan, the code only allowed for the construction of 3 duplexes on that lot. The code also prevented the applicant from attaching these 3 duplexes leading to construction of 3 separate duplexes, each with 2 families. The key point is here, I think, due to time constraints, John Johnson originally decided to construct 3 duplexes, not requiring him to bring this plan before the planning board. Since this time, the code has been changed. I should say to accommodate that, to allow that.
Or require it?
Okay. Any other discussion about this? I have a motion to accept to...
So moved.
Yes, thank you. Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Stephens wanted to speak about... Now, I don't know what to do here.
Neither do I.
Yeah.
I don't know if the issue of that change is in front of the planning board, or is in front of the village board, or where the change exists nowadays.
So the change is made by the village board. I mean, the change in the zoning law is the sole discretion of the village board. And to do that, they have to ask for the opinion of the planning board for a report and recommendation back when it proposed to change. So you can come here and talk about it, but we can't do anything until the village board refers your application. But really, what Joe Ariel said in the comment on my notes was that it's not the village board's initiative, it's not the planning board's initiative, it's yours. So you have to actually apply in some fashion to the village board. And your application will be there, and they can then ask you for escrow or whatever else application fee, I don't know what fee it would be for a zoning change. But this is not going to happen unless you make an application to the village board. That's what I understand.
The way I recall the code is if somebody outside of the government requests a change to the zoning code, I don't know that there's a formal application, but they have to go through the initial steps, and then they could be liable for all of the costs associated with it.
I mean, normally it's not because you're doing a development and you want to change. You're just trying to
Put a deck on.
well, whatever.
Well,
it's just that
two-story.
It's unusual to have an application that changes zoning without any project behind it. Usually there's a project behind it, and there's money in it, so I don't know. But it's not going to move, as far as I know, unless you make some formal application to the village board.
And I can make the application with the other property owners, or?
Yeah, I think that'd be better.
That would be better.
You can share the cost for one thing.
I mean, the planning board can initiate a zoning change.
If it felt like it.
If it felt that, in whatever situation, if we felt that it was of value to the community to request a change in zoning, we can initiate that, and then the process.
With all due respect to Mr. Stephens, I don't think it rises to that level.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a sort of complexity here that would make that difficult as well.
Yeah.
But just in general terms.
So Rich, I wish you well. I think we all wish you well, but I think you have to go to the village board and find out from the village attorney, I guess, what form your application should take.
Can I ask our liaison, is your understanding when last we met at the village board?
The answer is yes. The short answer is yes. The village board doesn't feel impelled to make a change in the zoning unless there's a compelling reason to do so. And when it first came to the village board, I think the village board appropriately said, well, is this a planning issue? If so, the planning board should make a recommendation to us about why there's a compelling issue to change the zone. We don't have that. Nobody has that. The only one who has felt that there's a compelling issue, and I'm not even sure that you've expressed it that way, you feel that there's that there's not sufficient reason why the four properties, if I'm remembering correctly, the four properties that are in this situation should remain in the floodplain area. But there's not a compelling reason on the part of the village board to go ahead and institute a change that will cost money, as we have to change the planning book and so forth. So why should this be done?
Well, it should be done from my property. My property is one small, tiny little house.
Yes.
The real reason to change it in the zone, and we're not going to change it at the floodplain. It will still be in the floodplain. That's FEMA. That's got nothing to do with any of us around here. It will change it so that the other properties really are the ones that will be more effective in terms of changing the use to uses that would go much more than a riding academy or a indoor facility for recreation.
Take them out of the flood district.
But as I'm
Otherwise,
suggesting,
they them to be what they are currently being used as.
So Rich, I think you need to sell the village board on this somehow. You have to tell them why you want to do this.
I did do that. I did do that. I went to the village
And you
board.
have to ask them what form your application should take, whether there's any cost to you or your neighbors, and have them move on from there.
if this board wishes me to carry something back to the village board, I'd be happy. That's what a liaison does, right? Go back and forth. I would be happy to take any suggestion or ideas or even complaints. If you have them, I would take them back to the village board.
All I have is an uncertainty as to how to proceed. We were told by our attorney and the village attorney that the applicants, that the people involved have to come before the village board with some form of application which doesn't exist. So I don't know, whether you have to have a letter, you have to have a plan, I don't know. But that's something for you to deal with them about, not us. They may come to us, they may have to come to us for our opinion based on whatever you present to them. But until then, we're your pals.
I just suggest, well, as George said already, it is not out of the question, nor is it ahistoric. I mean, it happens that zoning regulations and zones are changed for certain reasons. I mean, in New York City probably happens all the time. Somebody comes and says, I want to put up an 80-story building. Say, how can you do that? Well, you have to change the, is it worth the city's time, effort, financing, and so forth to do that? Well, and are there countervailing factors to be taken into account? You have to know that before you go ahead and do anything. So the village board is not going to do anything
Wait for
about
the project and then change it.
So,
I think so.
If I can make the notice economic sense.
It's not the stance I would take. I think if I saw another place in the zoning in the village, hopefully I won't own a property in it the next time, that we would discuss it as a board whether or not it was a good idea to change that zone. And I would think that if you took a look at that zoning, so what it is, the fact that a majority of the property isn't even in the floodplain on the FEMA maps, which we've got engineer reports and floodplain maps to back that up.
So wouldn't we have to refer to the engineer to tell us? I mean, I do a lot of floodplain work, but I wouldn't want this board to make that actual decision. So I have to ask, I guess they would be asking our engineer, this Dave, right? Who are asking the engineer to come back to the board and get a report on that. So he's going to want to charge escrow. And who's paying the escrow? It just becomes that.
I'm missing something because I don't think anybody's asking for a change in the FEMA floodplain status of the property.
No, I know, but I think it's still too easy to say, oh, it's no longer floodplain. It's okay. And FEMA's a little more complicated than that. And the maps and the history, what it means, why we are where we are with this, why there was a big floodplain in the first place. It just takes a lot of work. It's got a bit of work. I don't think it's a sound decision. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that to structure this decision takes some research by a number of people. And to me, it's an application. But unless the board is motivated by itself to say, yeah, we all agree, let's pass a resolution to say that we think it should be changed. That's what you're asking for.
Is it, maybe I'm misunderstanding, but wouldn't that be the function of the master plan folks to decide, not the planning board?
I think so.
Maybe I'm just asking.
If we found a section of the zoning that was not what we felt it should be, we walk away from it and wait for an applicant to come before us, or do we take action?
You're talking about zoning map, that's different from saying the parking regulations too strict, we want to set guidance because it's been a problem for 20 years here, and we want to change it. So we asked the village board to change it and send it over to legislation. That's one way, but when you're just saying these property owners don't like this, whatever, this doesn't make a lot of sense. Should we change the zoning map? I don't know, the board could do that, but I think it's different from dealing with the technical issues in the zoning law that affect the board, the way it works. And I think Liz is right, that changing zoning maps really goes back to the master plan, doesn't match the plan, then change the plan as well, because usually the zoning protects the plan. It's a process. And, if the board wanted to do it, they could initiate it and send it to the village board with a recommendation that this be changed. But it is a little complicated since you're on the board. It doesn't mean you can't just recuse yourself, talk about the board, and the board could act as 4 members and decide that. So it's really up to the board.
My preference would be that you go to the village board, but I'm happy to hear other people's opinions. John?
It just sounds like it starts at the village board.
Liz?
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I know it's gone back and forth a little bit. I'd like to think about this a little bit. And so I'm not, if this was the first time we heard about it, I would say that. I know it's not the first time we've heard about it. So, but I don't have a position right now when we're meeting.
All right, so we have no compelling sense of the board that I could see that says we're going to take action. So I think if you want to proceed with it, you should come up with something to show to the village attorney, the village board, that this is what you want to do, this is why you want to do it. And there will be costs associated with it, whether it's the village engineer, whether it's Clauser, whether it's
Here we are.
village attorney, they're going to want to be paid for this. So, and as I said, I don't know of any application form to do this. So you have to ask them how they want you to do it.
And formally, it's often called a petition. Petition the village board for changes of. And you can draw up your own petition letter to the village board. Get it formally before them to ask for action on it.
Well, the best might be just leave the sleeping dogs wherever they are.
If there's no compelling reason, or if there's no real big reason for you to do it, then
Well, the big compelling reason I have is there's a couple of properties there I'd like to see get fixed up. And they're not going to them, they can't.
explain
No one's
that
going to go
the
through the
village
fight
board.
that I went through.
Right, explain that to the village board, that this is like they're missing the boat by not allowing them to do it because the zoning exists. Maybe they don't want to do it.
I mean, that seems like that would be kind of a compelling reason.
Because, they would have an interest in
Bettering the
fixing it
community.
up, getting more tax revenue. We have a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Thank you. Second. Mr. Zerlo, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, aye, aye. Stay